Welcome back. How are we all? We have had a quiet week because of events in England. My thoughts are with everyone who's been affected or who's upset by what's going on. But football's back this week, which means we're back and there's lots to talk about. It's very much changed the lay of the land in FPL world. Talks of wildcards earlier than previously anticipated. Talks of free hits. Talks of all sorts. And there's no better man to discuss this with, arguably. Heisenberg will be hurt, Abdul will as well, as will everyone else in the FPL space. But I'm joined today by the handsome man, BigManBakar's, freshly shaven, Leeds United shirt on, ready to talk about wildcards.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John, and thanks a lot for your generous compliments. Really looking forward to the return of football this week. Last week was very boring. The weekend, basically, um, it would have been really annoying had we had a week break because of the international break next week as well.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad that we have some footy on telly at least this weekend, and I look forward to discussing a game week which is going to have major ramifications on our chip strategy going forward.
Yeah, so I suppose everyone's bringing up wildcards now because there's obviously 7 games going ahead this weekend. So there's 3 have been cancelled, which means 6 teams don't have a game. And those are quite highly owned teams. So everyone is talking about wildcarding, but I suppose the first question we need to discuss is who needs the wildcard. You know, how many players for you, Bakar, do you think if people have a free transfer, 2 free transfers, let's forget about that for a second. How many players do you think people need to justify holding the wildcard a week? If you can get out, say, 11 players and it's going to cost you a -4, would you roll? If you can get out 10 players and it's going to cost you a -4, do you roll? Just talk to me a bit about like who should actually be wildcarding. Because everyone out there is in a different situation.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different situations because obviously this question is very team specific. But I'll try and, for example, run you through my own team. You say that, for example, if someone has 11 players and we can get it at the cost of a 4-point hit. I, for example, had 11 players in my own draft with a -4, but I decided to wildcard simply because I thought that the team I was fielding was suboptimal, and I didn't see a reason to do it and to take the hit at a point where I was going to wildcard in the upcoming weeks anyway. So, for example, in my own draft, I would have had Ward playing, Reed playing, and Neko playing. Now, those are 3 players who I don't expect much from this week. I mean, I'd be very surprised if either got more than 2 points actually this week. So, in that scenario, it's not really about just the quantity of players. It's also about the quality of the players that you have at your disposal. I mean, there are other FPL managers who, for example, have the likes of Jesus or an Arsenal defender or Ederson or Diaz. I think those are perfectly playable picks this week. But for those of us who had Ward or Reed or Neko or, double Chelsea defense or Brighton players, there were a lot of us who had, Gross or Sanchez. So, I mean, it depends on team to team. So if you're stuck with the Brighton players, the double Chelseas, the triple Liverpools of this world, then it makes more sense to pull the trigger, I think, because the main point when I was sort of like indecisive last night before I decided a wildcard, and I did it because I came up with a game week 9 wildcard draft for myself, and I didn't think there was much difference between the game week 9 wildcard draft and the game week 8 wildcard draft. So I thought, why not do it this week and save the hit and gain, a 0.5 or 0.6 million in team value, because at this stage of the season, I can see 8 to 10-point minimum expected swing of points in my favor if I decided to wildcard this week, which is significant because ranks are so close, everyone has more or less the same team. So I thought there was an opportunity to take advantage of.
And you press the button.
Yeah.
Wildcard siren. Bakar has pressed the button. It's happening. So we've loads of other topics on what you've said there, Bakar, to spin off, and we will build a wildcard. That's where we're ultimately going to, and that is essentially the biggest tip you can give anyone clicking the wildcard this week. The exact players you're going to be picking, or at least they might be changed up to the deadline slightly, but your current wildcard draft, which is going to be pretty solid, I'm pretty sure. But are there any other tips outside the actual players for people pressing the wildcard or thinking about pressing the wildcard? Is there anything around team values or when you press it or anything bigger strategy that people should be thinking, or is it all just a case of if you need a wildcard, build your team by the weekend and pop it?
No, there are definitely a lot of factors in play which you need to consider. It's not as simple as picking a good team for this week, because it's not a free hit. It's a wild card team. So you have to build for the long term. For example, in my own draft, I will try my best to ensure that I have a route to Trent and Salah back, because it's really not optimal or feasible to go without them in the long run, right? Sure, you can probably afford to avoid them for the next 3 or 4 fixtures, but you will have to bring them back at some point, and you need to build a squad which allows you and gives you the flexibility to do that. So I mean, I don't want to distribute funds in my squad. For example, there are teams where I see where people have Bowen, Madison, Zaha, and they've sort of stacked the midfield. I think I don't really like that. I like picking between one of those mid-price mids, because if you distribute the funds, you're leaving yourself exposed to taking too many hits in the future to bring the likes of Trent and Salah back, which you inevitably will need to. And there's also another thing I'd like to quote here. We're asking about tips for a wildcard team, is that you know there's also the fact that you have to you also have to ensure that you have enough in the bank to make sure that these moves can happen, right? Because in my own team, I've ensured that this could happen, and there are plenty others who I see who have, for example, there's Kane. People have opted for, and if you pick Kane and someone like a Saka in midfield, it doesn't really give you the flexibility to go to Salah, right? That's the structure also comes into play when you're building for the long run.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It is that like the price points are becoming relevant again, and I feel like a lot of us felt a bit stuck in the mud. I did anyway in the early parts of the season, where we all had this big in the back template, and I'm not saying it was wrong, but we can't say it went particularly well. And I mean, that's just the game. People wouldn't have predicted Liverpool would have done so bad. Suspensions here, Man City not keeping clean sheets, injuries, whatever else. People wouldn't have predicted what happened, but I felt very stuck in the mud with so much, as you're talking about the likes of the Bowens and the Madisons and the whoever's. If people are distributing money across multiple players like we have done at the start of the season with the big at the back thing, it leaves you very, as I say, stuck in the mud when it comes to pivoting from no one really wanted to get rid of Salah. And if you wanted to get in the likes of a De Bruyne or whoever else it was, moving out of Salah was something that kind of no one wanted to do it, so it was 13 million tied up plus probably another 20, 25, whatever in your back line. It was a very stagnant place, and people could fall into that trap again if they just distribute the money too evenly across the team. And if they put one, they're probably going to want 3 strikers now that start very quickly, as you say. You might be stuck if you want to get back in Trents, if you're not going with them, the Salahs, as you say. It's the price points are something I think maybe a lot of us not necessarily overlooked. Overlooked's a bit strong. I think maybe Haaland is just must-have from the get-go, and it's weird getting rid of Salah. So kind of our 2 premium slots were locked, and there wasn't much movement around the mids or the kind of budget forward, and Gabriel Jesus was pretty locked because of the big at the back. So maybe the game gets a little more exciting now with a few more options.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just about, I've spoken a lot about Salah and Trent. It's not just about them. You've also got to factor in that Leicester, for example, have a great run from Game Week 9 onwards. You mentioned West Ham from Game Week 8. Yes, there are teams not in form, but you have to play the fixtures, right? In my opinion, fixtures create form. So I don't mind going with someone like a Madison or Bowen on wildcard. It's a very close debate, and we'll come to that as to who's better. But I mean, these are things you need to keep into account, because, for example, both Madison and Bowen actually don't have great fixtures this week, but their fixture run for next week are actually pretty good. So you've got to take that into account as well. And then, for example, there's the Chelsea defense, and I mean, Chelsea, they have a amazing run of fixtures coming up from next week onwards as well. Yes, they have a blank this week, but then they play Crystal Palace, Wolves, Villa, Brentford, Brighton in 5 of their next 6. So they have a great run of fixtures. I'm actually keeping a very watchful eye on their Champions League encounter tomorrow, just to see who plays wing back, how he sets up, how solid the team looks, because obviously till date they have shown plenty of defensive weaknesses at the back. But if wildcarding right now, I mean, you've got to think about all of these things for the long term. You're just not building a team for right now.
We actually haven't spoken since Chelsea got new manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Graham Potter. Actually, I really rate him very, very highly, and I think he will get the best out of Chelsea in the weeks to come. I'm very excited for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to see the kind of changes it creates across a couple of teams in the league. Another thing that happened, Diego Costa.
Yeah, he's joined Wolves.
What is going
That's like
on?
that's one of the most random transfers of all time. He's
Yeah,
5.5 million in FPL actually.
5.5 million. Yeah, mad. And did you see the announcement video where he's like holding the like snarling wolves, like the dogs, and all that on their Twitter? Anyway, mad one that. I read something. I don't know who put it out. I don't know where I seen it. He's got more in his last X amount of games. He's got more yellow cards than goals. He's got like 19 yellows versus 16 goals in his last however many games. I don't know. It's going to be fun. I have two more quick things. Then we're building the wildcard Bakar. One is not everyone here is going to be wildcarding. They might have already hit it. If you've hit the wildcard, is a free hit worth it this week? And if people aren't wildcarding this week and they're going to wildcard next week in game week 9, hold that. Are there any 1 week punts we'd go for? But I think maybe that's something we could talk about later in the week. Initially, if you've already burnt your wild card, do you free hit?
I think those who've used their wildcard have been hard done by, if I'm being very honest. They're in a very sticky situation because a lot of them had loaded up on Chelsea and Liverpool being the form teams. And the most of the managers who had wildcarded by now were people who were struggling in the first place, right? Obviously, they wildcarded in the early weeks because they didn't really pick the optimal team for game week 1 and 2. So I mean, they're in a rough spot now with no Liverpool and no Chelsea. I mean, they should be glad that the Arsenal fixture is going ahead, but again, this puts them in a tricky spot. I personally know quite a few managers who have loaded up on double, triple Brighton, Chelsea, Liverpool. In that case, I mean, if you have like 6, 7 players from those teams and you're barely able to field 11, I think you should free hit because there's a definite gain to be made by free hitting this week in that case. And the good part is that from next week onwards, they'll have their Chelsea and Liverpool players back, so they should be good to go from next week onwards. But again, this is a very team specific thing, John, and it depends on the number of players they have available. I mean, if you can get to 9 or 10 with a hit, then it's feasible. But I mean, if you're struggling to put a 11 out, then I think I would lean towards free hit.
Cool.
And I assume most would be in this position, or those who wildcarded.
I want to just point out two things, Bakar. So we've over 1,200 people here. This is our biggest live stream, I think, since pre-season. This is a big one. So hello to everyone. Thanks for being here. Subscribe while you're here. We talk to Big Man Bakar. I talk to Big Man Bakar every single week, and he drops all this knowledge.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Like and subscribe. The big man said it.
How many likes do you have, John?
Later. I don't know. We'll hit them later. We'll give him a chance. And we'll go and check the numbers
Smash
later.
that like button, guys.
Smash
I'm telling
it,
you,
guys.
please.
Poke your phone really hard. So there's that. Also, if you want to sign up the Fantasy Football Hub, if you have decisions to make, there's lots of articles, lots of different bits and bobs, tools, the My Team tool, which we're going to look at when we build the wildcard now. Click the link in the description. There's 30% off at the minute. Or you can just sign up for free and have a click around. So, Bakar, is it time and are we ready?
Sure. Let's go.
Okay, so we're over on the My Team tool and Fantasy Football Hub, and we're going to do this how we always build teams, Bakar, back to front, one player at a time. So, start us off. What goalkeeper's on the bench?
Danny Ward. He's going to be on the bench. I mean, there's not much to say here.
Yeah.
It's not something it's not a selection that I'm proud of because he's been absolutely horrendous so far. And I'm not even sure going forward that he keeps his starting position because he's been an absolute horror show. In fact, I was just watching a compilation of his errors the other day, and I mean, it was hilarious. So I won't be surprised if he got dropped, but then again, we don't have any evidence to suggest that will be the case. So I've picked Ward as my substitute goalkeeper.
So Ward's in number 2 in terms of priority of goalkeepers. Who is our starting goalkeeper?
I've gone with Nick Pope. I think this one is fairly obvious this week, simply because of his haul potential. I mean, he makes plenty of saves. His bonus accumulation per minute ratio is the best among the Newcastle defense. So whenever Newcastle are to keep a clean sheet, it is very, very likely that Pope gets bonus. And the best part is that Newcastle are in the top 5 for shots conceded outside the box this season. yet they concede very few, high XG shots. So they concede plenty of low XG shots, which is absolutely ideal for a keeper. And that is exactly what you need. And when Newcastle are to keep a clean sheet, Pope is likely to get somewhere around 8 to 9 points, which is great.
That's why we've got you, Bakar, coming in here, dropping in XG shots, outside the box shots, bonus point accumulations. That's why you're the man. That's why we're here. So Pope is here, Ward is the backup, and we're moving into the back line. Who's the first name on the team sheet here?
Cancelo, I think Cancelo is because, I still think he's the best pick in the City defense, despite the fact that his attacking numbers haven't been as good as we usually see from him, as compared to his previous seasons. But I still think he's worth it simply because of the security that he offers. And City, I think, have been very, very unlucky this season when it comes to their goals conceded, because their XGC is very, very impressive. They've definitely underperformed on their clean sheet tally, and I think there are more clean sheets to come. So Cancelo isn't for me. I haven't even debated this.
Cancelo locked. Who's number 2?
Number 2 is Reece James. As I said, with Chelsea's upcoming fixtures, you need a Chelsea defender, and James is going to play. I expect Potter to play the wing back system. So if he plays there with Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, Fofana, I expect James to be right wing back more often than not. And at that position, he's absolutely deadly. We know that in the past. We've seen that time and again.
He's in here. Showing up no fixture game week 8.
Yeah, I'll have him on the bench. That's fine. That's not a problem. I want him for the long term. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So James in, bench in the first week, and then we've got Crystal Palace, Wolves, Villa, Brentford, United, Brighton. And yeah, I mean, you'd like to think with particularly, it was kind of, we were talking about it before, obviously the delayed games, Fofana coming in means he won't be playing on that right centre-back role anymore, we'd like to think. So yes, and we know Potter loves his fullbacks too. So who's the third defender?
The third defender is Perisic. I've gone with Perisic.
You love Perisic. He's going to be in your team for 38 weeks, Bakar.
I mean, I've been a very strong advocate of him since preseason, and he did me well. I mean, in the times he started from game week 3 onwards, he got me 18 points in 2 weeks, I think. So he's done well, and Spurs have really good defensive stats. No team has conceded fewer big chances in the league. They've conceded just 4, which is very, very good. And we know what pedigree he has going forward. I mean, I am aware of the fact that Spurs have rough fixtures after this week, but I think Perisic can do a job for the next 3 to 4 weeks, because I expect him to play at least 2, including the fixture against Leicester, which is the one I primarily want him for. I think, obviously, given how poor Leicester have been, there's massive upside to owning Perisic this week. I know he's starting tonight in the Champions League, but it's a Tuesday-Saturday turnaround, and Saturday is the late kickoff as well. So I expect Perisic to play, and Perisic has had a week's rest, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think his starting position should be at risk for the Leicester game, and that is why I have him.
Does a Leicester... What's the story at Leicester with Brendan Rodgers? He's out the gap, isn't he?
He's still around, but
he's still around. Yeah, I seen something out that he was fired last week, and then I went and checked, and he wasn't fired. And
no, he hasn't been fired as far as I know. Yeah, he hasn't been fired. But I mean, Leicester are all over the place. I won't be surprised if they sacked him in the international break.
Yeah, it's weird that he's still there, given all the unrest. It's unusual. There would be such like vicious rumors about it, and then it just doesn't happen. It's strange that that's happening. I don't get it. Anyway, we'll see. I like him. Obviously, Leicester are doing terrible, but they haven't really been backed in the window. They're selling players left, right, and centre. Guys looking to leave, and have they recruited?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think they have. It's a depleting squad for sure. Madness. This is a fixture to target this week. I mean, this is the Moneyball fixture, if I'm being honest with you. This is the fixture where you're going to make a lot of points.
Cool. So we have Perisic in. Who's our fourth defender?
It's Trippier. I think Trippier is a fairly obvious one. He's on set pieces. I highly doubt any engaged manager won't own him in Gameweek 8, because he's bought by a lot of managers this week. He's extremely popular. He's on set pieces. He creates so many chances, which allows him to accumulate bonus points quickly as well. And this Bournemouth fixture is one I particularly like because no team has conceded more chances down their left flank this season, and that should play right into his hands because he's gonna attack and Bournemouth is just gonna sit back. They're bottom for XG this season, so I have no qualms doubling up on Pope and Trippier. And Newcastle's run from this week onwards is very good as well. When you look at their fixtures, John, I mean, they play Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford, Everton in 4 of their next 5. I can see possibly 3 clean sheets over there, and there's a lot of potential with Trippier.
Yeah, I think Trippier. I for anyone who cares, actually, I will be popping the wild card this week too. I'm going to talk about that a bit later in the week in a separate video.
Have I talked you into it?
No, I was doing it. I have to have triple Liverpool. I have a Cucurella. I have Pascal Gross. I have whatever. I just have to do it.
In your situation, I would. Yeah,
it's time.
In your situation, I would.
But today's about your wildcard, Bakar. I'll maybe do that live stream on Friday. So subscribe if people care about seeing what I end up going for close to the deadline. I'm actually going to do it over up to the deadline. So we have a 5th slot for a defender here. Will they be starting or are they a bench player? It's going to be Nico Williams, is it? Or who is it?
It's not Nico Williams, actually.
I just know you kept talking about him being 3rd for his XGs and his XGIs and all the rest.
But that was last week before his fixture against
at
home to Bournemouth. I mean, I could pick him, but I think there's better value to be had elsewhere. I have Fofana actually for 4.4 million. For just 0.3 million extra, you're getting a Chelsea defender. I mean, I really like the look of that, because he will be value. And with the fixtures that Chelsea have coming forward, I was in fact looking at the bookies odds, and then each of the upcoming fixtures in the next 5 game weeks after this week, obviously where they're blank, they're in the top 3 teams for a clean sheet, top 3 favorites basically in terms of the clean sheet odds. So at 4.4 million, I can't fault it. However, having said that, I think this slot in my team is still open for debate, and it could be Emerson as well if I decide to save cash. He's playing regularly as a left back for West Ham, or even someone like a Chilwell if he looks good tomorrow. So I have that in mind as well. I'm going to scout Chilwell tomorrow. I'm going to see if he plays left wing back because if he does well tomorrow, then there's a decent chance that he's going to be match fit, especially by the time the international break ends. So I mean that's another one I have my eye on. But for now, I have Fofana in the draft.
I love it. I've just seen in the comments there from FPL Jonesbrook, just going back, Leicester need to save money, so maybe reluctant to sack Rodgers due to the payoff amount. So there's just an idea as to maybe why he's hung around after me being confused. Over 2,000 viewers, Bakar. That's a first for us.
Thanks for the love and support, guys. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is brilliant. So let's get stuck into the midfield. And people with an old hawk eye on them might see that Salah isn't featured on this right-hand list. So this right-hand list is the players predicted to score the most points over the next 4 game weeks, and that's based off the My Team algorithm. So Salah, obviously missing the fixture this week, would drop right down that pecking order, and he hasn't been amazing, to be fair, so far this season. So De Bruyne, I'm going to ask you one question, then I'm going to ask you player by player. But De Bruyne is top of this list, predicted to score the most points of all midfielders over the next 4 weeks. Does he make your draft?
He's in my draft, yes. He's not 100% locked in, but he's in for now. Simply because he allows a very easy move to Salah later. I mean, in the draft that I've built and the draft we're discussing, I have ensured that I have enough cash in the bank to go from De Bruyne to Salah or from even Perisic to Trent next week, if need be, because I think Liverpool will bounce back before Brighton, and I don't want to leave myself exposed without any of their players. So again, this will depend on how they look in the Champions League and how Salah looks. Excuse me. So again, De Bruyne, I think, is the premium midfielder to go for. Looking at the stats, he has like 10 big chances moments, which is by far and away the best among mids this season. He's gone under the radar simply because Haaland has been brilliant, but that doesn't take away from the fact that De Bruyne has been posting some very impressive numbers as well. So he's in for me. He scored 4 goals actually against Wolves last time around. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people recall that. It's not that long ago. So I mean, he does have good pedigree in that fixture. I think I will go with De Bruyne. The other alternative to this slot is Son. Again, that depends on how and what happens in the Champions League, because from what I hear, Son is not in the starting 11 tonight. So maybe he's been dropped. I'm not really sure. I think De Bruyne is probably the safe pick, which is why he's in my draft as of now.
I'm over the moon. De Bruyne is 100% coming in. I've wanted him all season. I've been saying to you all season. There was a few weeks ago I was very close to clicking the
Yeah.
button and getting rid of, was it
Salah.
Salah and
Yeah,
someone
yeah, yeah.
for De Bruyne, and I actually forget what the other two players in the transaction were, but now
Yeah.
it's time. I have the excuse. I'm going to get the Bakar green light that I so eagerly look for.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. It's De Bruyne is a very solid pick for the weeks to come. And I mean, I'll explain what it's. You can go if Son, if you prefer Son, you'd go with Son simply because you like the Leicester fixture, and if you're 100% certain that you're getting Salah back next week, right? If you pick De Bruyne, you give yourself the flexibility to hold on to him for the next 3 weeks and then sell him before game week 12 when City are most probably, according to a lot of strong rumors, they're actually supposed to have a blank in game week 12. So the timing is there. So you can afford to hold De Bruyne for 3 weeks and then sell him for Salah in game week 12. And De Bruyne does have a home fixture against Southampton coming up as well in the next 3 weeks. So that's another very enticing fixture. Let me put it that way.
We have another 7 players to chuck in here, but I've just seen a really interesting question, actually, and that's around wildcards, and that's what this is all about. Joey Kneecap has asked, I'm a first-time FPL player. Can you guys talk a bit about farming value while the wildcard is active? I don't understand how to do it or the concept itself. Thanks for the great content. It's something I was thinking about today. I have to admit, it's not something I've ever actively went and done, but I assume the concept of farming value with a wildcard is popping the wildcard early, bringing in the players everyone's going to bring in that week, wait for the 0.1 or the 0.2 rise to get 0.1 value, and then go into a player that you actually wanted. Is that the general concept?
It's basically you look at the several price predicting websites which have their algorithms designed that way, which helps them predict price rises and fall every day, and you keep a watchful eye on those, and you bring in those players who are expected to rise, and just drop the ones who are expected to fall if you're absolutely certain that you want those who are rising, and you drop those who are falling. It's basically that. It's you just have to play and make changes every single day according to the price algorithm.
Yeah, so just if anyone cares, Fantasy Football Hub does have a price changing algorithm. The Fantasy Premier League price change predictions. The top of this list at the minute are Pope, Cancelo, Anthony Gordon is right up there. Martinelli's up there, and so is Dyer. In terms of drops, we're looking at Ward, Malacia, Trossard, Veltman, and Xhaka. But anyway, back to the wildcard draft. Just wanted to give that question a shout out, because if we're not going to talk about it this week, Bakar, when are we going to talk about it? In fairness, who's the second midfielder we're going for?
It's Martinelli. I mean, Martinelli is the one who's nailed in my team. I haven't given it much thought to drop him, because when I look at the stats for midfielders price 6.5 and under, Martinelli and Odegaard, actually both of them are actually streets ahead of the rest of the pack. I mean, the Brighton midfielders and the United midfielders come into play, but they're not really into consideration because obviously they don't have a fixture this week. So it's just Martinelli and Odegaard, and I know that Arsenal's fixtures are tough. I mean, on paper they're tough, but I personally think that they are okay fixtures from attacking point of view. They're facing Brentford this week, Spurs next week at home, Liverpool at home, which I don't think is a bad fixture. I'd expect Arsenal to score there, and then Leeds away. So the next 4 are good, in my opinion. So Martinelli at 6.4 million. I've owned him throughout the season, so I bought him at 6 million. I don't see any reason to get rid. He's terrific value, and I expect him to be to represent great value in the times to come.
Yeah, you have a lot of value built up there as well. Yep. It's actually, call me a weirdo, call me a noob, call me whatever you want, right? But does anyone else see this? When I'm seeing all these drafts, and even to this point, it was the first drop of red I've seen, and it feels weird because every single FPL draft, my team selection, everything I've looked at over the last 2 months, it's been triple Liverpool, triple Arsenal, and there's probably even a Nico Williams. There's like 7 red players at least in almost every team, and this is the first drop of red we've got, and it just shows how big the last week's been, how big the fixture swing is, and how many people are going to be popping wildcards, and how much this sort of template's changing. It's really exciting me, if I'm honest, Bakar. Things were getting a bit monotonous for a while.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. There are a lot of things that have sort of opened up. and I really like it. Lots of options in play. For example, there are plenty of people who aren't wildcarding this week. There's some who are free hitting. There's some who have wildcarded. Whether you pick KDB, Son, Kane, there are proper debates to be had. Bowen, Madison, Martinelli. So it's nice that the game has opened up a bit, and it's going to make for good viewing over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Who's our third midfielder?
As spoken on the stream earlier, I did say that I want a player for the long run and not just for this week, because I want to put myself in a position where I can compete with even the Game Week 9 wildcard is. I have Madison in my team. This could be Bowen as well, but I have Madison because I think he's a slightly better pick when you consider the fact that he isn't playing in Europe. And Leicester's fixtures from next week, I know Leicester are terrible. John, I know you'll say that, but when you look at their fixtures from next week onwards, I mean, can you handpick a better set of fixtures than Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Crystal Palace at home, and Leeds at home? I mean, those fixtures are dreamy. And Madison does have the potential to do well. He's been a terrific asset in 2022. This calendar year, he's been smashing it. I personally didn't own him in Game Week 36 and 37 last season, but I'm sure a lot of a lot of you watching did, and he absolutely killed it in double game week as well. He has been posting good stats when playing well. So I do expect plenty of goals for Leicester in the weeks to come. I think they will pick up surely. I mean, I don't think they will struggle in those fixtures.
Yeah, those fixtures are just incredible. Spurs obviously tough, but look, we'll see what happens there. Something drastic needs to happen, so maybe it's time. Who's our fourth mid?
You laugh at this one as well, John, because it's almost like we're doing a preseason video. It's actually Leon Bailey, right?
Leon Bailey, he's back in
Remember
fashion.
Him?
Yeah.
Remember him? I mean, we part to meet again.
I think he's actually still in my team, I might have got rid of him. No, I got rid of him for Rodrigo, which worked out lovely for me.
I have him in my squad because he's now dropped to 4.7 million. I mean, he's a decent bench fodder at that price, and Villa have a good run of fixtures. And the thing is, John, when I talk about my own team, I have James, Fofana, could be Chilwell, Madison. So those are three players I don't want to play this week. So I need a player who's playable this week, basically, to field a strong 11. And I feel as if Bailey does have some points potential against Southampton. I don't entirely trust Gerrard with his lineups, but just the fact that Bailey has started both the previous games and scored, in fact, against Man City, a very crucial goal that perhaps saved Gerrard his job, should give him enough confidence to start Bailey again. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But I think he's a playable option this week, and at 4.7 million, I don't mind punting there, especially against a Southampton defense you can never really rely on.
He's been doing okay, if I remember, in like cups. He was great in pre-season, obviously, but did he get a goal in a cup midweek or something?
Yeah,
as well?
He did. Yeah, you're right.
It's not like he's, while he hasn't done much from an FPL standpoint, he's as much of a chance of scoring as most of that Aston Villa team, and if they've good fixtures. Yeah, 4.7. I like a Bakar. I don't know if he'll make mine, but I like it. Who's your fifth slot?
The fifth slot is obvious. It's Andres Pereira. He's by far the best 4.5 million player in the game, on set pieces, playing alongside Mitrovic, almost on par. And Fulham's fixtures now, I mean, they're very, very good from an attacking point of view. Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa, Leeds, Everton. That's their next 7. I mean, what a run. And in case rotation kicks in due to Champions League, or if something along the lines happens of what happened this week in terms of postponements, then Pereira is an excellent option to come in from the bench. I don't mind him. I love him as a pick. He's going to be in my 11 this week, I think.
Well, he has to be. Sure, you have Fofana and James. He doesn't have to be, but you know what I mean. But yeah, nice fixture for him. If there's ever a week to play him, it's probably this week, or target a Bournemouth fixture or something like that. But we're on to the forward line, Bakar. We're on to the forward line. This is where it gets saucy. I imagine there's one man absolutely nailed.
Why don't you name him rather than me?
It's Erling Haaland, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not going
Also,
anywhere.
He's the captain for this week. No spoilers. I mean, it's it's bloody obvious, isn't it? He's in the form of his life. It's gone to the point where it's just not worth banking against him. He's getting so many chances per game fed to him on a plate that he
Yeah.
will continue to do well, right? So let's just move on. He's going to be my captain this week.
But Bakar, everyone wants to hear more about him. No one's heard enough about Erling Haaland and why he should be in our teams. Everyone's confused about this pick. So that leaves you with 14.6, which is a nice amount. And this is actually where things do get very interesting, because there's been a lot of debate around which of a certain three men you should prioritise, and now there's one or two others maybe coming into the mix based off what's happened over the last week. But I'm interested to see who you pick here. Pick them in order of least crazy.
Preference?
The second one, leave the craziest one, the one that you're most like ooh about. I don't know if that even exists.
I think Mitrovic is the one who's
here, man.
Yeah, Mitrovic is the one who's obvious because his numbers, he's basically second for XGI this season, second only to Haaland, and this is despite the fact that Fulham have played tough fixtures. They've played Brighton, they've played Spurs, they've played Liverpool, they've played Arsenal, but Mitrovic has done well in each one of those fixtures. Just imagine what he's going to do in the fixtures to come. Though I just named their fixtures while talking about Andres. So, I mean, Mitrovic is a beast. I just don't want to bet against. I want him in my team. He's nailed for 90 minutes on penalties in the form of his life. No problem at all. He's definitely in.
No bother at all. So, we've got one more slot left here. People will be thinking Tony, people will be thinking Isaac. Is there anyone else that you've considered, or what are we thinking?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I haven't considered Tony, to be very honest with you. I like Isaac more, because when you look at Isaac's fixtures, in the next four, there's Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford at home, Everton at home in four of their next five. Those are four fixtures where he has proper haul potential, in my opinion. When you look at Tony, there's Bournemouth really next week, which I see as a proper game where he can get a hat trick, for example. Other than that, his fixtures are, I mean, they're okay. He can continue to tick along, but I don't see him exploding. So I've gone with Isaac in my draft. I have given some thought to swapping that premium slot, maybe KDB, Son, and Isaac for Kane, possibly, and a cheaper mid. But I don't think I will go there, because I like this setup more, because it makes it easier for me to get Salah later. And as I suggested, Isaac with his fixtures can do really well. And he's actually he's played 2 games where his average his XGI has been like 0.8 per game. His numbers are brilliant. 3 big chances in 2 games. He's going to get plenty of opportunities against the Bournemouth defense as well. So I think he will be good value in the weeks to come. And it's actually funny now that we've gone to a 3 up front formation from, the previous seasons where, it really wasn't fashionable. So this is a bit old school left field. We're back to old school left field this season.
Yeah, I know, because it was very strange, I think, with how weak we were up top compared to the back. I felt kind of free for a change, that I could go for like the double Liverpool guys. I've always felt like that's a little bit naughty. I'm not spending that much back. This season I had free reign to do it, and it's backfired absolutely. So I don't know if I'll ever go back there, but you never say never in FPL. So Bakar, this is pretty much your current draft. You might change this a little bit over the week. I'm going to build my draft later in the week. We've content the next 2 days, and we still aren't done. We're going to answer loads of questions in just a couple of seconds. But any last thoughts on this?
Obviously, it can change depending on what happens in the Champions League. But most of the picks are locked in. I don't think. Obviously, I've thought it through. I've explained most of the picks, almost every one of my selections. The outcome really is something I'm not really bothered with, because the decision-making process which we've gone through is what really means to me. And as far as I think that I've thought through everything methodically and thoroughly, then I leave it up to the gods to make sure that and hope and pray that I get the points in the weeks to come.
So, two quick things. It's 7.7 on the bank on the screen. That is purely because this is based off a 100 million budget, but I imagine you've worked up some more value. We closed the poll
Yes.
just now. What's your plan for this week? 1.8k votes. 57% are wildcarding, 20% are
Yeah.
taking a hit, 15% are doing nothing, and 5% are free hitting. So that's where we're at. And Bakar, if I was to say to you, what percentage of people do you think have liked the video? What would be an insulting amount? What would anger Bakar? And I don't think you get angry that often.
Uh, uh, Given the amount of people we have today, I'd expect somewhere around 650, perhaps.
We have 16% of people who've liked the video. Just 16%, Bakar. It was less
Smash
than
that video,
500 when I
guys. Come on,
looked.
show some love.
Show us some love, gang, please. We've a lot still to do, though.
If
Okay.
not for me, then at least for the fantastic shirt that John is wearing. Looks absolutely
Thanks,
dapper.
Bakar. Whose shirt do you like more? Do you like the funky shirt or do you like the football shirt? Let us know in the comments. I'm gonna actually save this team. I have to do a little bit of whatchamacallit here, the recapture jobs. Okay, so I'll drag this in and see how this actually is rated for this week. So I imagine we're gonna bring you in. Oh, actually, sorry, the Chelsea lads will be on the bench. Are you playing Bailey or Andreas? Bailey? Sorry, Andreas, you mentioned.
Both actually. Yeah, Madison is on the bench.
Madison's, oh yeah, that makes sense, sorry. And captain on Haaland, you mentioned. So this team,
Yeah.
for this week, let me just make sure everyone can see it. It's got an 87% team rating, a bit longer term, and only an 83% game week rating, which shocks me, to be honest. Oh, I've got Ward and goal is maybe a large part of that as well. Just up to an 85. 58.4 predicted points. Bakar, would you take 58.4 points right now?
Probably, yeah. Given the state of the game week and given the state of play we have, I would take that for sure. Yeah.
You would take it? Okay, well, let's see. We're going to be talking again next week, so we'll be interested to see how that one ages. Right. You ready for some quick fire questions? We'll go 5 minutes and we'll answer as many as we can.
Let's go.
Okay, let me explain this to
let's
people
go.
very quickly. Bakar's record is 53 questions in 5 minutes. He's going to try and beat it today. What you need to do to help him do that is I will not ask him questions that are open-ended. It needs to be yes or no, or A or B. Chuck in a C if you want, but A or B, yes or no, most likely to get answered.
Quick fire short questions.
Quick fire short, all your dilemmas. I'm going to tally. I'm going to put 5 minutes. We'll give them 30 seconds here to start submitting them. But while you're doing that, guys, yeah, look, thanks a million for being here. This is our biggest stream of the season. Let's hope to keep going. We're here every week through the season, but Car's locked in. We're going to be doing it, talking about whatever's going on. And you can find us both on Twitter. Bakar will be putting out his full-blown team reveal on your Twitter a bit later in the week, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be in fact posting the team on Hub, my updated team on Friday as well.
Brilliant. Right, the questions are coming. Bakar, you ready? Are you
Let's
excited?
go.
Okay.
Is the timer ready?
The timer is getting hit. 5 minutes.
Let's
go. Now, Bowen or Zaha?
Bowen.
Jesus or Isaac?
Isaac.
Willock or St. Maximin?
Saint Maximin if fit.
Son or KDB?
I've spoken enough about this. You can watch the video.
Kufal or Zuma?
Kufal.
Trossard, hold or sell?
Sell.
Bowen instead of Madison? Question mark. I've already
50-50. I don't mind. I have Madison right now. It could change. It's 50-50. Sure.
Jesus or Tony?
If you have Jesus, hold him. I don't mind. I won't sell for Tony.
Keep Trent? Question mark.
I assume if you have no other pressing issues, and then you can afford to keep him. Yes.
Isaac or Mitrovic for this week?
Mitrovic.
Jesus or Højbjerg?
Jesus, obviously.
Sterling or Son?
Son, I think.
Triple up Chelsea defense?
It's too much overkill.
Emerson and James Ward-Prowse or Perisic and Bailey?
Perisic and Bailey.
To Salah to De Bruyne for a -4?
If wildcarding next week, then yes, makes sense.
Dallo or Fofana?
Fafana.
These are all the same. James Ward-Prowse or Alan St-Maximin?
Maximan.
Gibbs White or Bailey?
Bailey.
Isaac or Richarlison?
Isaac.
KDB or Kane?
KDB. I've explained the reasons in the video.
Wolves defenders for the bench?
No.
-4 to play 11 players?
Yes. If it's a long-term move, then why not?
Estupinian or Nico?
Nico.
Deer or Zuma?
Zuma.
Kane and Zaha or Son and Tony?
Kane and Zaha.
Son captain too risky?
I think so.
Nunez or Aubameyang?
Aubameyang.
We're halfway and you're slacking. To beat your record. Gordon or McAllister? Maybe I'm slacking.
Gordon.
Bernardo or Luiz? Louis.
Which Luis?
It just says Luiz. Bernardo or Luis Diaz? Let's go
Luis
for that.
Diaz, I guess.
Yeah. Digne or Dalot?
Dean.
Bowen or Perisic?
Bowen is more long-term.
Chilwell or Perisic?
Depends on the UCL.
Kulusevski or Saka?
Saka.
God, son of Paqueta or James Ward-Prowse?
Paqueta.
Diego Costa long term? Or is that Diego? Diego Costa or Solanke?
Solanke probably.
Isaac, I've asked that. Can you go without Haaland this game week and Captain Kane?
Why would you want to put yourself through that experience? It could be worth it, but again, I'm not sure if it's worth the risk.
Hit for Pope or play Ward?
If you're not playing the wildcard next week, I would take the hit for Pope.
Reed or a -4 this week?
-4.
Keep Brighton assets or sell?
Sell.
Shea Adams? Yeah or nay?
Nah.
-12 or free hit?
Free hit.
Watkins or Mitrovic?
Mitrovic.
Rashford or Martinelli long term?
Martinelli.
Might have asked this, but answer again. Cancelo or TAA long term?
Cancelo for the next 4.
Zaha or Martinelli?
Martinelli.
Fulham defender, yes or no?
Sorry?
Fulham defender, yes or no?
No.
-8 with 10 playing or wildcard?
Wildcard.
Bailey and Isaac to Bowen and Johnson?
Why would you sell Bailey and Isaac? Makes no sense.
-8 or play Murphy?
-8.
My watch is vibrated. I am going to do the final count, Bakar. How many questions did you answer in 5 minutes?
If I'm less than 53, I'm blaming it on you because you were
I
very
was
slow as well.
They were very repetitive this week. A lot of
I can
Madison
understand,
or
yeah.
Zaha's
Especially with
or-
so many people in the stream.
Yeah, I was trying to find different ones as well, but
Yeah.
anyway, this one could
I
be
think
down
it's
to
probably
me.
going to be in around 40, if I'm not mistaken.
10, 20, 30, 45, 49.
Not
49,
bad.
Bakar. No, that was
I'll
good.
take that.
That was good. I'll take the loss. Now, we'll also give you 1 minute to ask other questions if you want, and then we're going to wrap up. But Bakar, this has been great fun. There's a lot going on this week.
Absolutely.
I imagine you have a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot of content obviously to create. I'm supposed to write a best free hit article, best wildcard article, my own team article, and then the preview thread. So yeah, plenty more coming your way
All-nighters.
tomorrow and in the times to come. But been thoroughly enjoyable. Thanks for having me, John. And hopefully, let's hope we smash it. How is your wildcard looking, by the way? I mean, any initial spoilers you want to give us before the video you record? Is it too different to mine?
It's not madly different. I mean, I'm going to be revealing that probably on Friday. So just to keep people in the loop for the week, I'll probably talk about it tomorrow a bit more with Heisenberg. The Double Up podcast back. We're recording it tomorrow. We're live. On Thursday, the Green Arrow comes out. And then on Friday, I'll do a deadline stream where I'll finalise the wild card. But, you know, there might be one or two differences. But I think De Bruyne, Cancelo and Haaland are all there. The kind of spine. And I also like the Newcastle lads in Trippier and Pope. And that's kind of the basis of it. I don't know if I'll rock Perisic. So there might be a few changes there, and I don't know about Madison. So there will be differences, but nothing too crazy. So there was another thing I wanted to say. Forget what it was. Let's answer a couple of fun ones, and then off we go. Chinese food or Indian food? I feel like we get that every week.
I love Chinese. I love Indian food as well, but I think Chinese is my favorite cuisine.
People are going for the actual questions, Bakar. I actually can't find any more random ones, to be honest. So, yeah, will we just wrap up?
It
Guys,
is what it is, I think.
It's been a pleasure. We've had good fun. You can
Thanks
find
a
us
lot
on
for your
Twitter.
support, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Drop the like on your way out. Subscribe for more. And if you want to have a crack at Fantasy Football Hub, click the link in the description. You'll get 30% off, or you can have a play around for free when you're building your wild card. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.